what qualifies you, a businessman, to write about happiness?
Okay, that's a good start for the conversation. I think what happened is I've been a very successful businessman for a very long time. I was one of the most, as many of you know, being the chief business officer of Google X is probably the luckiest you can get in the professional world. I've been that lucky almost since my very early, start in business. And as life was extremely kind to me, an Egyptian who is educated in the public schools of Egypt, I started to become very successful in my late 20s. I was a director for the Middle East of a major consumer goods company. I was a day trader making very, very hefty returns at the time, and I was miserable. I was totally depressed. Regardless of how much life gave me, I continued to feel unhappy. I had everything that we worked so hard all our lives to achieve, including a wonderful family, a wonderful wife, two amazing children who, filled our life with peace and happiness and fun. And I constantly was depressed. And being a Middle Eastern, therapy was not really an option, if you want. Of things you can do to become happy. Happiness is an ancient science, if you think about it. But I just couldn't get it. It just did not speak to my mind at all. And so I sort of used, if you want, my business background, but more my engineering background to tackle the topic from a very, very different point of view. I started to look at the topic of happiness from a mathematical, scientific point of view, assuming that, being a young man who grew maybe till my mid-20s to be a very happy young man, and then ran out of happiness, that must have meant that something went wrong with the machine. That, this was operating fine and then it wasn't working anymore. So maybe we should unassemble the machine and find a way to find out which parts are not working and then make them work again. Or maybe the machine was just not suited for the current environment. Maybe, if you take a sports car and I'm not a sports car in any way, but if you take a sports car and put it out in the middle of the desert, it gets stuck, it gets unhappy. And so this approach to happiness, that engineering, scientific, experimental approach to happiness, reflected a very, very, very different, very different perspective, very different, approach to solving the problem. And that's what I summarize in Solve for Happy.